Anyway, I'm moving on from this Colombia shit. It's pissing me off. Let's talk about France to recognize Palestine as a state.
France will recognise a Palestinian state at the United Nations in September. French President Emmanuel Macron posting on X, true to its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I've decided that France will recognise the state of Palestine. The urgent need today is for the war in Gaza to end and for the civilian population to be rescued. Peace is possible, he said.
Of course, this in and of itself is kind of meaningless. HasanAbi has some choice words for it. The recognition of Palestine from France comes with a lot of conditions: disarming and eradicating Hamas, expanding PA's power, and the state comprising only of the West Bank and Gaza. These are platitudes. What state when you couldn't even be bothered to stop the starvation and slaughter of Palestine's children? It's still a good move in the right direction, make no mistake, but it's like a liberal land acknowledgement in the process of the genocide. Like, the indigenous genocide has not ended, and they're trying to do a land acknowledgement before it ends instead of stopping the genocide. Oh, yeah. Also, UK was supposed to join France, but instead they got a meaningless statement from Keir Starmer. Empty words cannot hide the truth. Your government is complicit in genocide. We are an unstoppable movement for peace, for justice, and for Palestine, and we are never, ever going away. The suffering and starvation unfolding in Gaza is unspeakable and indefensible, says Kid Starver. I guess he wants to starve the kids himself. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu's response to Macron, by the way. Netanyahu, we strongly condemn President Macron's decision to recognize a Palestinian state next to Tel Aviv in the wake of the October 7th massacre. Remember October 7, guys? I mean, how could you say that there is a need for a Palestinian state? No, we have to kill all of them. Duh, is basically Netanyahu's response. Such a move rewards terror and risks creating another Iranian proxy, just as Gaza became. A Palestinian state in these conditions would be a launch pad to annihilate Israel. Oh, God. Not to live in peace beside it. Let's be clear. The Palestinians do not seek a state alongside Israel. They seek a state inside of Israel. Here is Bezalel Smotrich, who's also pissed. I thank President Macron for providing yet another compelling reason to finally apply Israeli sovereignty over the historic regions of Judea and Samaria and to definitively abandon the failed concept of establishing a Palestinian terrorist state in the heart of the land of Israel. This will be our fitting Zionist response to the one-sided pressure and coercive measures led by President Macron and his allies. Now, what's crazy about that, I mean, he just basically said it. He's saying the quiet part out loud once again. But it's interesting because it's not in Hebrew. He's saying this in English, which means he wants the Western audiences to hear it. Israeli Minister Amichai Chikli responds. He says, on behalf of the Israeli government, to President Macron's announcement that the Republic of France will recognize Palestine as a state at the UN General Assembly in September. And then it's a photo of him. I mean, it's a video of him getting slapped by his wife. Here's Israel Katz, Minister of Defense, the new Minister of Defense. Macron's announcement. Dude, I swear to God, Israeli politicians and Israeli media, just like Israel has two speeds: murdering children and crying about anti-Semitism. It's the number one and number two thing that they like doing the most. Murdering children, and then when someone goes, you murdered children so much that we're going to do this symbolic gesture towards the murdered children, they go, whoa! Whoa! Anti-Semitism! The entitlement is so insane to me. The entitlement, the arrogance. How can you look at this and just not go, what the are you saying? Macron's announcement of his intention to recognize a Palestinian state is a disgrace and a surrender to terrorism, granting a reward and encouragement to the murderers and rapists of Hamas, who carried out the most horrific massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Instead of standing with Israel in this time of trial, the French president is acting to weaken it. We will not allow the establishment of a Palestinian entity that would harm our security, endanger our existence, and undermine our historical land historical right to the land of Israel. We are all united to prevent this grave danger. Here is Amir Ohana, Speaker of the Knesset. Macron just awarded Hamas a prize for committing the October 7th massacre. This shameful act is nothing less than a betrayal by one of the so-called leaders of the free world. It sends a chilling message. Terrorism pays off. Macron will be remembered as a collaborator with evil on the wrong side of history. I'm ashamed to have met this man. I love France. It deserves more courageous leadership. It does. France unbowed. France does deserve more courageous leadership than Macron. just not in the direction that he wants it to be. Okay, well, let's talk about the f***ing fake ceasefire that immediately fell apart. Special envoy for peace missions, Steve Witkoff, no longer Goatkoff, says, we have decided to bring our team home from Doha for consultations after the last response from Hamas, which clearly shows a lack of desire to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. While the mediators have made a great effort, Hamas does not appear to be coordinated or acting in good faith. We will now consider alternative options to bring the hostages home and try to create a more stable environment for the people of Gaza. It is a shame that Hamas has acted in this selfish way. We are resolute in seeking an end to this conflict and a permanent peace in Gaza. And then here's what Jeremy Scales' assessment was. Israel announces plans to build a concentration camp in Gaza, says its aim is to remove Palestinians from Gaza, lies about negotiating in good faith. And when the Palestinian side takes negotiations seriously, Israel blows up the deal, and then the U.S. and Israel blame Hamas. It is the exact same pattern. For more context on what has happened with the recent round of ceasefire talks, here's my analysis. And I didn't even cover the ceasefire, the fake ceasefire this time around, because we've all seen this song and dance play itself out over and over again. Hamas is insisting in the ceasefire negotiations that the UN retake control of aid distribution. Yesterday, Israel insisted publicly that the UN must step up when it comes to aid delivery, yet in negotiations, they are now rejecting the UN role in aid distribution. Because Israel does not want the United Nations to do aid distribution, Israel wants the GHF to continue doing aid distribution, which is not real aid distribution at all. It's a trap to murder as many Palestinians as possible. And the real goal here, of course, the real goal is to continue doing ethnic cleansing, to make Palestinian life uninhabitable on the Strip, and to eventually force them out. This is their open recognition. They have acknowledged this. They said that they are building a concentration camp in Rafah, where Palestinians' entire lives will be controlled, their movement will be restricted, and the only place that they will ever allow Palestinians to go to is designated third sites that are outside of the Gaza Strip. They are setting up a concentration camp in Rafah. This is the Israeli plan. Do not be confused or shocked when you find out about this a couple months, maybe a year later down the line, when the New York Times chooses to cover it. A few notes on the state of the Gaza ceasefire negotiations. Hamas has now submitted its response to the Israeli-crafted framework, and Netanyahu responded by announcing that he would recall his negotiating team from Doha. Israel has been pushing a narrative via leaks, mostly to Hebrew media, that Hamas has taken a hard line in obstructing the deal. This is totally false. Israel put forward a proposal to effectively occupy huge swaths of Gaza indefinitely, including building a large concentration camp in Gaza, in Rafah. Hamas, of course, rejected this because this is not a negotiation. It is a declaration of intent to continue the mass extermination and expulsion campaign. In response, Hamas showed a willingness to agree to Israeli troop withdrawal and redeployment maps that would still allow significant Israeli-imposed buffer zones encircling Gaza. On the issue of aid, Israel has demanded that its lethal aid scheme, the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, remain in Gaza, which has killed more than 1,000 Palestinians trying to obtain meager food rations from these pitiful sites. The UN used to have 400 sites. The GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, has 4. The UN had 400 distribution sites for the 2 million population of Gaza. The GHF has 4. And they're not 4 real sites either. They're 4 different kill zones. More than 10,000 Palestinians are held captive by Israel. There's also an estimated 2,000 snatched since October 7 for the explicit purpose of exchanging them for Israeli captives in Gaza. Hamas proposed a framework that would free these 2,000 Palestinian hostages, as well as hundreds of other Palestinians, including those serving life sentences, in return for Israeli soldiers held captive in Gaza. Finally, Hamas has asked for a clear guarantee from the U.S. that Israel will not resume its genocide after an initial 60-day truce, so that negotiations for a permanent end to the war and occupation can be reached. Israel has promoted a false narrative that it has been reasonable and Hamas has been obstructionist. The reality is that Netanyahu has repeatedly sabotaged deals throughout the past 22 months. And Israel unilaterally crushed the January ceasefire endorsed by both Trump and Biden and resumed the genocide and forced starvation campaign. He has boasted that he will get a side letter from Trump allowing him to resume the war regardless of any deal he signs. Yeah, there's 4 official sites. Only 3 of them are open. One of them doesn't even work. And those aid sites are only open for 10 minutes at a time, multiple times throughout the day, that amount to 20 to 30 total minutes where you can get aid. And once the 20 to 30 total minutes end, they open fire, as opposed to 400 sites where Israel is not supposed to open fire, that it's it's not occupied or utilized by the aid delivery mechanism is not use as a way to continue military goals of complete ethnic cleansing. 11-minute race for food, how 8 points in Gaza became a death traps, a visual story. Since the GHF's implementation, food insecurity and the catastrophic famine level of food insecurity has increased dramatically. American Hosber to right-wing Israelis, please be normal. Right-wing Israelis, no. Oh, Cory Walker is like a American Hosberist. This minister is considered fringe and non-representative of the median minister in Israel. However, this is extremely reckless rhetoric that makes Israel look horrible. Unfortunately, it seems some Israeli politicians just don't care. Beitar responds to that to say he's not considered fringe and unaware why Americans keep saying such untrue things. Is the finance minister and national security minister also not mainstream? It's simply untrue. They represent the will and the government of the people of Israel. Because they do. This guy is basically like Ethan Klein, okay? Desperate to present Israel in a totally different light than it actually is. I really hope you understand the implications that has for the ICJ case. This isn't a cute game. It's playing with serious fire. We really hope you understand in Israel we have a democracy. Don't you think our voters have the right to choose our leaders? So American Zionists intend to tell us that we can't have Smotrich or Ben-Gvir or others as our representatives? They are mainstream Zionism. We don't have anything to apologize for. It's just funny that they're literally trying, like the defenders of Israel in America who still have to deal with like people who are not as brain broken as like the average Israeli are having to explain that this level of unlimited bloodshed and support could potentially have repercussions for Israel. And the people in Israel are like, nah, dog, shut the up. This is who we are. This is what we like. We want to keep killing children. If you say anything about it, then you're anti-Semitic. Also, the GHF has literally started utilizing a PR firm. I forget what it's called. There's like 7 words or something is the name of the PR firm. You know who is actually the PR firm? You know who the PR firm is comprised of? The Biden administration's State Department employees, including Fat Sagar. Remember Fat Sagar? Verdant Patel? And Sabrina Singh. Democrat PR firm, 7-letter. And it's now it's representing as a new client the GHF, the Trump administration's scheme concocted alongside. It's not the Trump administration scheme. It's a long-standing U.S. policy. It's uniparty, but you know. How did that work, guys? That's crazy. I'm so shocked. I can't believe it. I thought that there was a very big difference there.